Welcome to Third Age Talk. I'm MP Wilkinson,
I'm Julia Wilkinson Rice,
my lovely daughter.
my gorgeous mother.
Oh, so I have to say gorgeous daughter. You can't one up me like that.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Third Age Talk for review. The name came from an historian famous from the UK that divided life into four ages. First age is childhood. Second age is where Julia is, which is time of career and family. Third age is where I am. I'm 69, and it's typically after retirement, and he calls it a very fulfilling time of life. And fourth age, he describes as the time of decrepitude and death, which is lovely to look forward to. So let's
Not great.
prolong this third age as long as humanly possible. Thank you very much.
Like, there's no positive thing he could pull to describe the fourth age at all. Like, it's very negative, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, when you're deteriorating, I don't know how happy you can make it.
There's positives that come out of it, like everyone surrounding you and reflecting, but it's all good. It's all good.
Okay, tell me that when I'm at that point and I'm like, what the hell? I
I
hate
will
this.
once we found our safe word that we said we're gonna say from last time. I'll
Yeah,
say
that's
safe word and then that.
okay. Sounds good. So, welcome everybody. We do try to have a theme every time. I also do parody songs that relate to the theme, so I will have one of those. I also wrote a memoir about my mom's cancer journey, and she was a writer and her mom was a writer, and so I have weaved their writings into that. So there'll be an excerpt of that every episode. And then I also end it with a question for my daughter. So that's
Episode
the
5.
structure.
Yep, here we go.
Yeah.
What is the theme of today's episode, Mom?
Well, unfortunately, it's not a very happy one, but I think it's something. Well, in fact, statistics show that one third of all older people struggle with loneliness. So today's about loneliness. Um, Obviously, it's a heavy subject, but I think it's an important one.
Yeah, I think I said this to my mom when I heard that this was the theme today. I think as the daughter in this dynamic, it's a hard topic for me. My mom and I don't live in the same city, and I wish I sh didn't hear that she was lonely, and also it's not necessarily a topic I can relate to as much, thankfully and luckily at my time in my second age of life right now. I feel like the last four episodes, there's been some sort of like a parallel or relationship with myself and my generation and my mom and her generation. And um, this one's going to be a tough one. So, where would you like to begin?
I'm lonely. Damn it. No.
Totally. And God damn it, I can't. It's so hard. Okay.
No, it's just strange because, although I was a single mom and was single for a long, 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 long time, I
Yeah, me too.
never had time really to feel lonely. I was very busy. And so I can't say that I was overwhelmed with loneliness. Obviously, when you were in the house with me, that was different. And then after, I was very much teaching and,
Hmm.
busy. And, but I think now that life has slowed down some, it does come more to the forefront. And you think about what it would be like to have somebody around. Um, it is a heavy topic too in general because there's a lot of studies that have been done what the effect of loneliness, especially on people who are aging, are. And I'm going to read you a couple things from Harvard Medical School says that loneliness when you're older is linked to a 50% increase of risk of dementia and a 29% higher risk of heart disease
Oh,
among people who
wow.
are lonely. Yeah. It also is strongly associated with the higher rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide. And it reduces your lifespan, which is something we can't afford being older. Chronic loneliness can have a similar impact on health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Really?
Isn't that fascinatingly horrible?
Yeah. Well, I think those stats are interesting because I think it sometimes feels like spiritual and frou-frou a little bit to be like, your mental state is important to your physical health and this or that or the other. And those numbers prove it, like mental state, whether you're already sick or not even sick, like the fact that it affects you like that, it really is impactful. How does that make you feel reading those sorts of stats?
I mean, I was surprised. Like
Yeah,
that's pretty significant. That's pretty scary, actually.
it is.
And I guess it does make sense. There is a big mind-body connection, and
Hmm.
emotional things affect your body. And so I guess it makes sense. Harvard knows what they're talking about.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, I think when people are in the hospital, it's always like, keep a positive mind. That's going to affect the outcome, but outside of the hospital too, it affects it as well. It's really interesting. And I wonder, is that if someone's lonely, they're more likely to do things that affect their heart, or is it just like their mental state literally, you know what I mean? I think there's also that correlation too. I wonder like what it means. I don't know how to say it, but the brain affecting the organ that significantly, or is it your behaviors is what affects the heart? Like that's what I would be interested about as well.
Well, let me see if they say anything. I mean, it says chronic loneliness can impair immune systems, increase inflammation, and increase the likelihood of earlier death.
And that makes sense. Like there's a lot of, right now a lot online about like cortisol levels and stuff, and like if you don't sleep well, you're going to be stressed and your body is going to feel the stress, and so then your organs are going to work overtime or whatever it may be. So I mean, it makes total and complete sense. But it's terrifying.
It also says lonely adults can often experience faster decline in mobility and ability to perform daily tasks.
Mm,
I wonder how much of that is more depression is, you know,
right.
I know living alone, like I have nobody to answer to in terms of daily tasks. I am very type A, and so I do keep on top of things. But I think if I had somebody here, you're almost more likely to be, okay, I want to keep clean and I want to keep organized and I want to make sure there's groceries for everybody and I want to, there's somebody else that is seeing you in your daily life, and so you
Yeah.
kind of do things a little bit better, I would think.
I think you're right. I think it's interesting. You and I are so similar. I'm also so type A, so organized. Um, and when I lived alone, yeah, it was probably when I was clean, but it was probably when I was my least clean, and that's
Mhm.
saying something because it was still clean. But
Right.
and now, yeah, having a husband and living with someone, it is a little bit different. It's like I can't just, and I can, and I do, and he still is fine with it. But it does make you want to be more on top of things in general, 100%. And I thought about that a lot after our last episode too. I was listening to a separate podcast actually recently this past week, and they were saying that people that are, this is very relatable to the topic, people that are in partnerships later in life have a longer life expectancy. And their whole discourse was, is that because there's an actual physical reaction to it, or is it because you have someone to hold you accountable to be like, go get this checked out, or someone to take you there? And there was no answer. They were just kind of talking about that. And that's probably an element of this conversation too. It's like, you're doing a really good job of going and getting checked, but if there is someone that is lonely and depressed, depression causes lack of motivation. So it could just be that they don't even want to go or feel motivated to get out of the house to go. And so it's interesting to think of like those numbers and what that means mentally, physically, all of the above.
Definitely. My sister Jerry is a volunteer driver for ERAs,
Yeah.
for older people, and she takes them to doctor's appointments and shopping and things like that. And she was telling me the other day about one woman who she was driving to an appointment. She has a regular schedule to go to appointments, and she wasn't coming out. And so Jerry went to the door to get her, and she answered the door, and Jerry was shocked by the condition of her house to the point
Mm,
that she, called Eras and said, I'm worried about this woman and the way she's living. And she's living alone and it's just gotten so out of hand that I'm sure there's nothing, she can bring herself to do to attack it by herself. And so she needs somebody to, say, hey, you don't want to live the rest of your life like this. And how can we help not only get you back to where it's organized and clean, but how can you maintain that?
mm.
It was very, very sad to hear it.
Interesting. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so sad. You've mentioned it on the podcast before. I can't remember what episode it was, but you weren't always this lonely, you said. Um, like when did that start?
Well, I think when I slowed down, it started, because again, life was very, very hectic and busy. And so I was always too exhausted to worry about anything else and didn't really have time to go out and do stuff. So I think once time slowed down after I retired from teaching, there are gaps in time that I never had before. And that's the time where you think, wow, it would be nice if somebody was here.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, as I'm getting older, and as you've done things a bazillion times, every once in a while I think, it'd be really nice if somebody else could go pick up the milk for a change or
Yeah.
take the car in or, things that I've been doing myself since you were 9 months old.
Yeah, right.
Every once in a while you think, geez, it would be nice to have somebody, a partner, to take half the responsibility. And
Do
I
you
think it's more, I would say the nights, because I tend to fill my days. We've talked about that,
Yeah.
and then it gets to a point where it's late at night and you're like, here I am, la la
Mm.
la.
I guess it's interesting. I think it's with loneliness and stuff, like, do you feel fulfilled when it comes to familial relationships and friend relationships? Like, does the loneliness really stem from the lack of a partner, or do you feel like you could even be leveraging the people and you already have in your life more? Like, where is that
I mean,
to
that's a
you?
good question. I feel like I have a good number of good friends.
Hmm.
I feel like the family is available and, supportive and around. We have a lot that are in this town,
Hmm.
in our area. Um, but I think it's the everyday things, So yes, I have somebody, hey, if I want to go play pickleball, obviously, which I do all the
Yeah.
time. If I want to go to lunch, I have people I can go out to lunch with. If I want to go to a movie, I have people I can go to a movie with. I think it's not like I don't have people.
Hmm.
It's just I don't have people that are really, really close, really, really intimate, and also, you know, that are there for the everyday thing. You don't call somebody up and say you want to go grocery shopping, you
Right.
know. Um, it's just the everyday things would be nice to have somebody to partner with, I would say.
Yeah. What do you do, or how do you interact with your friends and family to still feel connected and involved?
I think we text a lot, just kind of keep in touch daily, in a lot of ways, but
Hmm.
texting, so it's very short and, not heavy. Once I start feeling lonely, like I said, it's usually at night and it's pretty late. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of like now you're not going to call somebody and say, hey, what's up? You want to do something? I think I could do a better job of maybe reaching out more
Mm.
and maybe making it more than texting and, getting more on the phone and, you know, talking more about stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
That's why this is so great. But, I don't talk to my friends about being lonely.
Right.
Like,
Why not?
yeah, no, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily come up.
Well, you have to bring it up.
Hi, I'm lonely. How are you?
Well, not like randomly at midnight, but like if you're catching up. Like, I guess, you know, our relationship, like, how do you feel about you obviously feel lonely and I'm a constant for you. Like, do you feel like you use me enough or do you feel like you could be utilizing me more, but you're scared to?
You're very busy, and I feel that, and so I try not to, expect a lot of time. And, I would love to see you more and talk to you more, but obviously know, because I know what my life was like when I was in the second age, and I didn't have a
Yeah,
lot of extra time either. And so I'm not blaming you for being at this point in your life, but now I have time that I didn't have. And
right.
so, sure, I would love to have you more in my life, but I totally understand why not.
I think it's interesting because I think it really ties into the end of our last episode as well of like my fear of like, am I ever going to be able to give enough or time or just like myself in general to people? And I wish that you would give me the chance to say yes or no more. Like, I understand, I do talk all the time about how busy I am. I am busy. I will shout that to the rooftop. Anyone in my life knows that I am busy, but I am also secure enough to be able to be like, I can make time for that or I can't. And say yes or say no. And I'm getting better about it. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'll sometimes say yes to things I should probably say no to because I need a second to myself. But for the most part, the more I'm in my second age, the more comfortable and confident I'm getting in myself and my relationships and stuff. So I would love for you to just be able to be like, I really want to hop on a call right now, like even for, 10 minutes or something. Like, and I would love that. As long as you're okay with sometimes the answer being no. I can't or not even that I can't, I'm busy, but like I just like actually can't mentally deal with that right now. Like as long as you're okay with that answer, but I think like give me the chance. I would love to say yes or no. I mean, I could also obviously on my end do a better job as well, but if you're just inclined late at night, like there's a really huge chance I'm watching the same show as you on Bravo Network or something and am down to just debrief even for, 10 minutes or something. And I think a lot of mother and daughter, or just think parents and kids in general can probably relate to this, discourse that we have as well. So don't be afraid to give me a call or shoot me a text.
Yeah, I think that is a mother's guilt thing that you don't want to burden your kids. It's like fly, be free, go out and do your thing. And, I don't want to be a burden. And so I'm sure I
It's
take it
not a
to,
burden
well,
though.
I'm saying I'm sure I take it to an extreme. And I feel, like I don't want to ask more of you. But I hear you and I appreciate it. And I think I can do that, and I think I could handle you saying not now.
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. Let's try it.
We'll report back in a couple of weeks and
Right.
see.
Damn it, Julia.
The podcast is canceled. This is our
Right.
last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, so I appreciate that, and I will take that into consideration, and I will bug you more.
We're so mature. Look at us. Look at us. Well, it's a really good segue into what we've alluded to a little bit with loneliness and stuff, which is obviously you had mentioned it'd be really nice to have someone day to day, whether it's grocery shopping at night, and clearly that means some sort of a, partner in a romantic sense. What has that been like for you at 69?
Well, let me go back a little bit because I had a friend, we were talking about this being single, and she had a boyfriend and didn't really work out, and then she said, I'm looking for a Wednesday and Saturday partner. She wants somebody like Wednesday nights, go out to dinner or whatever, and Saturday, go out and stay home in bed and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said, that's all I want. I can't imagine incorporating somebody in my life 7 days a week. And that was very intriguing to me because
Mm.
being single for so long, I am obviously very set in my ways and my routine, and I like my place the way I like it and all that. And so there is part of me that's saying, I don't know that I want a full-time partner. Thank you very much. It would be nice to have somebody on Wednesdays and Saturdays and that I could call on Tuesday if I really wanted to. But it would be a stretch for me to think actually about living with somebody. And so I don't know how intimate I want to get with somebody. I don't know how heavy I want to get, but it would be nice to have the option for the Wednesday and Saturday guy.
I'm sure that's very common at dating in your age, though. I think that yeah, I think that I'm sure men would feel that way too. I mean, certain ones, maybe not the ones that we don't want you to date, but the ones that,
Right.
do deserve you probably will be able to, respect your space and your time and stuff like that. I think that's
So I,
common.
yeah.
I
So I
mean,
guess that's the goal is a
yeah.
part-time partner.
I know, but you've said that in the past, like something that is important to you is someone you can date in person as well, which I thought was interesting as well. That I mean, it makes sense. Like long distance is not ideal at your age and stuff. It's like someone that you want to meet in person, like go on a walk, like maybe play a pickleball game with, or whatever it may be. I guess, how do you feel knowing that you're probably going to relocate? Like, what is it like for you now? Like, do you feel like you're in a little bit of limbo?
Yeah, I would say. Um, it would be weird for me to start a relationship now knowing that I'm going to come to where you are in a few years.
Right.
But also, why not have a fun couple of years in the meantime? So I don't know. Clock it. I think you're using it correctly there.
I am. You taught me how to. You taught me how to.
Um,
That's
so
that's
so
fair.
I'm mixed, but you're right. I'm not actively pursuing it.
Hmm.
I'm on a couple apps but I but I'm not actively, oh my God, let me reach out to this person. In fact, the few that I've reached out to, when we match, it's kind of like, okay, make the move, and neither of us kind of make the move. So if I really wanted to, I'd be making the moves with the people I match with. So yeah, I feel like I'm in limbo. I also feel insecure.
Mm,
Like easy to say we match and now what and why would he like me and whatever, so it's easy to put yourself out there and then pull yourself right away because it's scary.
yeah. Excuse
Before
me.
we go any further on the dating, I think this is a good time for the song because it perfectly relates to this.
I totally agree. That sounds great. Let's hear it.
So this is called Swiping Right, Loneliness Weighs on My Heart, which is to the tune of Turn Around, Total Eclipse of My Heart. This is
Swiping right. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely, so I check who is around. Swiping left. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears. Right. Every now and then I get a little bit nervous that the best of all the years have gone by. Swiping left. Every now and then I get a little bit terrified when I see the look in your eyes. Right, brighter. Every now and then I make a start. Left, darker. Every now and then I fall apart. But I need someone tonight. Need someone more than ever. Can you just hold me tight? I won't hang on forever. We'll only be making it right. Could it be so wrong? Together can we make it till the end of the line? Or make it just a shadow and a moment in time? I don't know what to do as I sit here in the dark. Am I sitting on a powder cake and giving off smoke? Need someone tonight. Is forever gonna start tonight? loneliness weighs on my heart. Once upon a time there was light in my life, but now I'm sitting here in the dark. There's one thing I can do as loneliness weighs on my heart.
Actual dating app bios. Their names have been changed to protect their idiocy. Jimmy, 67. Love you until I hate you. Holla at yo boy. Tony, 62. If you could live anywhere in the world for a year, I'd choose Detroit. Detroit? No offense to Detroit, but any place in the world? Tom, 57. Picture is a closed motorcycle helmet. What are you hiding there, Tom? Jose, 63. A goat in a fucked up world. Dirk, 68. All Elite Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Wrestling, Independent Wrestling, Brew City Wrestling. Wow, who could resist that? Adrian, 37. 37? You see my age, right? Jeffrey, 71. I am a great man. Okay, Jeffrey. Damien, 77. I am a junior warlock. Congratulations. Drake, 53. AI picked this for me. A heart for adventure, music, and laughter. You had to tell us it was AI, and you couldn't come up with that yourself? Max, 55. Picture of a cat only. Antonio, 48. Don't know how you got in there. Emma, 80. Don't know how she got in there either. Scott, 69. The last relationship I had was the hardest ever in my life. Okay, Scott, what am I supposed to do with that? Brad, 70. Anti-drama and anti-know-it-all, spelled N-O. I guess you don't know it all. Zach, 90. 90? You go, Zach. Jason, 65. No game. Not sure if he means no games or if he's just confessing he has no game. Thaddeus, 74. If you are miserable, pass me by. If you're hungry ass looking for free meals, pass me by. Wow, that's attractive. Thomas, 56. I'm really 66. Okay.
Loneliness weighs on my heart. Loneliness weighs on my heart.
Swipe right, eyes.
Amazing song. How did that feel putting that together? Cathartic or?
Yeah, it was, the heavy parts of it were really true. And, I think I felt it as I was writing it that, yeah, loneliness tears at your heart. I mean, it really does. And then the part about the apps, they're scary. They can be scary, but also very funny. So those bios were absolutely true. And I had so many more to choose from that were hilarious. And these are people that are showing
Hilarious.
up on my apps. And I have filters on them, and I don't know how the young people get through the filters and how the females, but they are really weird that people would think that these would work.
Hilarious. I know. I was like, are you trying to tell me something with the female profile in there? No judgment.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but no, that my filter is males and my filter is like 60 to 75, I think I did. So I don't know how the younger ones get in there, but
Or the
but
90.
they can see my age and they match with me, like they want to match with me and they're that young. It's like something's wrong with you.
No, you're just really gorgeous, and anyone of
Oh,
any age would be lucky. That's what it is.
you got some points there, Jules. Thank you.
I think some of these are just so funny, just looking at them again as well. Jeffrey 71, I am a great man.
Like, oh,
Just
okay. I'll take your word for it.
pragmatic to the point. These are so funny. No game. Yeah, I mean, hilarious. Jason 56, I'm really 66.
Like, What is that? Does that mean you didn't know how to change it? Or you're trying to be funny? Or, I mean, like,
Oh my God,
okay.
I hope that it's he just didn't know how to change his age, so he had to put in his bio. I hope that's what it was. That's really funny to think about. I thought it was like well, a lot of dating apps guys always overdo what their actual height is. But you wouldn't put that in your bio, right? So he's calling
Well,
himself out.
yeah, like it would say, I'm 6'4", and then you put in your bio, I'm really 5'4".
Right.
Like, if you're gonna lie about it, then just put 56. That way.
I'm just laughing at how silly men are, really, is where most of it comes from.
Yeah. Well,
But I get that. Clock it. Yeah, I mean, you know, men at any age are like that. Like, on the dating apps at my age as well, they're posting fish and not having any clear pictures of themselves. Like there's stuff to laugh at on dating apps in general. Um, I feel like it just gives you the choice paralysis a little bit too of like, well, it's all at my fingertips, like swipe, 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 you know. Um, but again, I'm not trying to laugh at it. I just
no,
think
it's
like
okay.
it's comical, but it's also like it is sad. Like I wouldn't want you to resort to dating someone just because you're lonely, and I know you would never do that.
No, but
Anyways,
I've had a couple, where went to the next step. And one in particular was, really wanting to get together, get together, get together. And I said, let's FaceTime first. You know, I just wanted to see if there's anything there and
yeah,
what he really looks like, and and what the conversation would be. And so I did a couple of those, and both of them, one was just really awkward, and he wasn't like anything he said he was. The other
mm,
one, he was pretty true to what he was saying, but the conversation like just went nowhere. And the worst part is, he didn't get my humor or my sarcasm. I'm like, bye.
see ya. On to the next, as they say. Thank you next.
Right.
Yeah,
So, but I think that's important to, I get a little worried about personal safety and stuff. And I also don't want to waste a lot of time if there's nothing there.
yeah,
I am in my third age and don't have a lot of time. If I'm going to do this, let's find out right away if we're compatible. There's certain things that I won't even, match with
yeah,
in terms of beliefs and certain standards I have that I
yeah.
won't even compromise to try to see if we have anything.
And you shouldn't.
Right. And then once that, filters through, then I want to see, is there anything here? And you can find out pretty quick if you want to meet in person. And so far, no.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that it might feel awkward in a FaceTime setting because it is awkward in a FaceTime setting if you FaceTime with someone you've never met. So I think it needs to be a little bit of both. I think you need to open yourself up to meeting someone in public in a safe situation where someone knows where you are, location,
Hmm.
whatever it may be.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
maybe I
think it's,
will. I mean, if there's anybody that really intrigues me, I would probably take that next step.
yeah. Well, anyone watching this, shoot their shot in the comments. Any kid that has a dad that would get along well with my mother here, shoot me a message directly or in the comments.
Well, now we're getting to the real reason I wanted to do this podcast.
Yes.
It took us to episode 5 for what I really want. This is my way of finding a partner.
I'm fine with that. Use me, use anything. Yes, that's fine. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
A
I'm
little
kidding.
elaborate for that, but yeah.
Right. I know we talked about this episode 1 really brought it up for our relationship where I said something, it didn't make it in the episode, it ended up creating a larger conversation between you and I, and it was around this of like I would love to have you find a partner. and it came across a little bit like I probably didn't communicate it the right way. I was saying selfishly, I want you to have a partner, and it sounded like I was saying like I need you off my back, sort of a thing. That's not what I meant at all. It was just to combat what you're saying about the loneliness and like having someone to be there and get you milk sort of thing because I'm saying it's because I feel guilty that I'm not that person anymore,
Aw.
not that you know you need it or I need it or anything.
Right.
And so how do you feel now with that we've like talked through that part of it? It's just me wanting that for you, not to take away anything about our relationship at all, if that makes sense.
Well, I think, I probably took what that conversation wrong, but I think what it was, we were talking about something and you said, I wish you had somebody you can talk to about this other than me.
Yeah,
And it got into the thing of, me being dependent on you. And so that's part of the mom guilt, and that's part of the when you say call me more, and I feel like, well, you're wishing that I had somebody else I could talk to about this stuff too, so I don't want you to be my number one person for that, because you have a number one person, first of all, in Adam, and secondly, that's not your job necessarily.
which we'll just agree to disagree in that as well because I think that it is my job, and I think I all I was trying to say is that I feel like it could be only about your and I's relationship to have someone else to talk to. You can talk to me about any literally anything else, but it's like it is nice when it was just you and I growing up, and so it is nice to have someone that's not in that relationship, any relationship, to be able to just bounce off of. That's all I was saying about it. And same with like, Megan, my best friend, like if I have a qualm or something or just like need to vent about something in her and I's relationship or a conversation we had, I have someone else to go to for that. And so that was just my wish is like you and I are so close. So like if there's something I say that pisses you off or something, it's like, I would hope that you would have someone to be able to say that or vent that too. And that's all I meant by it.
That's fine. I think we worked it all out, and I'm getting it from this episode too. I'm getting it that I can reach out more, and I will do that.
Yeah. And again, that's I think why I wanted to bring it up. I know it's about loneliness and like dating and stuff like that, but I think it's super relatable to I think a lot of people can relate to, this conversation that we have and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
We have such a big family. We're just, not necessarily family that we call and talk all the time or talk about deep stuff unless it's necessary,
right.
and so it would be a little weird for me to call my brother, or one of my brothers, one of my sisters, and just say, "Hi, I'm just feeling lonely," and they would
Right.
be so wonderful about it. So it's
Totally. That's why
me.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's me that has that hesitation. It's not anything against them. It's just not something we've done necessarily, but it doesn't mean we couldn't or we shouldn't as we all get older. We probably will all need that from each other. My both my brothers have partners, both my sisters do not, so that's a little different dynamic. But my
Mm.
sisters-in-law are wonderful and they'd be open to it too. We just haven't necessarily gone there yet, and maybe they'll watch this and say, "Hey, MP, give me a call more often."
I love that. Do
Yeah.
you think it's a generational thing or it's within the family or maybe a little bit of both? Like,
It might be a little bit of both. I would say, I think I've talked before about my parents necessarily weren't the type to have these deep conversations.
yeah.
Um, so I'm sure that's part of what I inherited, and yeah, it might be generational. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I mean, I think you're right. Our family, we're not someone we don't talk all day every day, but what I do love is that in any extended family, you see each other the most in the happiest and the hardest times of your life. It's
True.
weddings, babies, and then funerals.
And holidays, yeah.
And holidays. And I think what I like about our family is that we pick up from where we left off. Like it could be a year between talking and it's like nothing has changed since. And that's with our family immediately and extended. Um, and so I think I appreciate that, but I feel like I could call anyone and be like, I'm having a hard time. And they would be, yeah, be fine with it. So I completely
I
agree.
think they all would. I honestly think they all would. I think it's something in me that you don't necessarily do it or haven't, or,
Hmm.
I'm so strong and independent, and to be
Yeah.
vulnerable and to admit, that you're struggling that's always been tough for me.
Mm,
Whatever the subject I'm struggling with, it's always been tough to ask for help and put yourself out there, even with the ones love you and that you love. And there is no shortage of that in our family, but
no,
it's just the day to day things that you don't necessarily reach out about.
sure. And that's fair. I think it's cool. We have something that my mom has now taken on since her dad, my grandpa, have passed, which is our family calendar. And it's something that even my friends in college are jealous of, that they saw 10 years ago when we lived in a dorm together. But we have such a ginormous family. My grandpa, her dad, put together this calendar. Do you want to kind of describe it? Speaking of
Sure.
family and
Yeah.
having them accessible and yeah. Okay.
Sure. You look at it and you see how many people there are, and you think, how could you possibly be lonely? Look at this family. Um, my dad started it decades and decades ago. Um, he wanted to do a family calendar, and he was the photographer in the family, so he had pictures of everybody. And so he did a calendar where he actually cut and paste pictures of everybody, and your little picture would be on the date of your birthday and your birthday month, and then whoever was in that month would be featured on the page above the actual calendar with pictures of them. And so he did that for years and years and years, and it was wonderful always. And it was something he always gave us on Christmas Eve, and we would just wait for that moment and then just sit
Yeah.
there and go through it. Look at this picture, look at this picture. And but the fact
Like
that he
that's
had,
me, that's me, that's
yeah,
you. Yeah, it was
yeah.
so great. So great.
And the fact that he had to physically cut and paste everything
Yeah.
and did his little collages by hand with glue sticks and pictures all over the place was amazing. So when he died, my sister Jerry took it over for a little bit, and then I have been doing it for quite a while. Um, and obviously now I can do it digitally, which is wonderful. But when he did it, there was probably, 30 people, in the calendar in terms of extended family. Well, this past year I counted, there's like 95 now, with all the marriages and births and
Wow.
live-in boyfriends, girlfriends, I mean, it is a lot of people to keep track of.
That's really cool though to hear how much we're expanding our family. I mean, I think that's so beautiful. It's a lot of work for you, but it's a beautiful stat to be able to say. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an in memoriam page. Obviously, we lose people, every year, but we gain many, many more than we're losing. Obviously, as we age, that will change. But so it's a wonderful project that I have every year. It's also difficult, and it's hard to get pictures from everyone on time and everything. So it's always a challenge.
Yeah.
But then there are pages in the front of the calendar. There's a family tree, and
Hmm.
then so that you know where everybody fits. There's also in memoriam, like I said, but then there's pages for significant things that happened in the past year. And so this year's calendar, for instance, has your wedding page. So it has its own page for that. If somebody is born, they have their own page. Somebody dies, they have their own page. So it gets the significant family events have their own, celebration in the calendar. And then the months are, everybody's birthdays and anniversaries we put in there too.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's amazing. easy contact info wise. Like when I was planning a wedding and inviting everyone, it was easy for me, but it's
Yes,
just
I
good
have a
to
contact page at the end, so everybody has cell phone numbers and email addresses and
and
physical addresses.
home addresses, which is the most important and the hardest to find nowadays. I think, I mean, it made wedding planning a million times easier because our family is so big. I wanted to invite everyone, and it's a gorgeous tradition, and I know it's a lot of work, but it's beautiful, and I will take it on one day.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm happy to hear that I can pass the torch to you.
Not anytime soon. 20 years from now, when you're over it, I'll do it. But
Well, we might have to have a safe word for that too. If I start screwing up pictures and birthdays and things, you're gonna have to say, instead of handing over the car keys, you're gonna hand over the files.
the calendar,
It's
yeah.
time. It's time. And I'd be like, no.
That's funny. I like that. Good segue into an excerpt.
Sure. So now we're going back to the blog. So this is 9/14/12, entitled The Big C as Comic Relief. Today was the home hospice meeting, well attended by myself, my sister Jerry, Aunt Gert, my sister Sarah, my brother Jim, and his wife Nancy D. I don't think the nurse was used to such a crowd, but the delightful Bonnie rolled with it, asking if she needed a microphone. Bonnie recognized the house as it had been used for hospice care before, and it seems she attended to Grandma Gert, my dad's mom, there when she held court in the back room, confined to her recliner for all that time because of arthritis. But it also could have been for Dad, as the house on Tanglewood Court in Oconomowoc that my parents bought after Grandma Gert died has served many Wilkinsons in sickness and in health. We got the lowdown on just what home hospice means, and it was what Mom had hoped for. On board with the kind and gentle objective, the nurse, aides, social worker, and volunteers will be there for whatever she needs throughout the progression of the disease. Today was the first time the word terminal was spoken out loud, at least when I was around, and it stung. Not that I didn't know how it applies, but somehow it put an exclamation point where there had been a period at the end of the sentence. Mom's sentence, which Bonnie told me privately is most likely shorter than the doctor said. I appreciated her candor, at the same time not sure I wanted to have my speculations confirmed. I asked if there was a way to know as things continue how much time is left. Of course, no, but I had to ask. The meeting contained lots of information, and she asked Mom many questions as well. Bonnie made sure she had all the history and records, that we had the equipment we need to care for her, and above all, that Mom is and will continue to be safe. We had a laugh about the ancient hand-me-down commode, and a modern one was ordered immediately. But the best moment came when Bonnie was going through her list of questions to finish out the chart. Any pain? Depression? How are you sleeping? Eating? During this litany of interrogatives, Bonnie casually asked, "So what would you say your biggest problem is right now?" Mom cocked her head slightly, scrunched up her face a bit in confusion, and then, in her best isn't it obvious teacher voice, said, "Cancer." The room erupted in laughter, with Bonnie joining in, who said, "I guess I should have phrased that question differently." Mom relished her effect on the audience, and it was a while before we all were composed. To say the attention was broken is to grossly understate it. Bonnie meant, of course, what is your biggest complaint related to the effects of the cancer? Mom said immobility and fatigue. No pain now, intermittent in her back at the site of the biggest tumor. Jerry told us later about a joke Mom told last night during the Packer game. Cousin Lori had come over with freshly popped popcorn, making her the favorite niece of the day. And at one point, when the three of them were sitting there quietly, Mom suddenly said, "What did the 0 say to the 8?" Jerry and Lori exchanged confused looks, I imagine, and one of them said, "What?" "Nice belt," said Mom, smiling. Jerry asked if that was an old joke from one of the fourth graders she used to teach, and Mom said she didn't know, but seeing the zeros on the TV reminded her of it. Very funny, as it was so random. And Mom is not exactly known as the comedian in the family, so it is great she's finding her stride to amuse given the circumstances. Thankfully, the zeros disappeared quickly as the Packers came through for Mom in spades. Bonnie officially enrolled Mom in the home hospice program, ordered the emergency medical kit we need to have on hand, and scheduled the visits for next week. We had to tell her Mom wants to die at home, but Mom did, thankfully, agree to let us take us to Angel's Grace Hospice when she wouldn't know the difference. What would you say is your biggest problem right now? The collective voice of Jean's family and friends answers cancer.
How does that feel to read?
Again, it's bringing it all back for sure. But I'm really glad that I do have it on
Me
record.
too. Me too. It
And
brings it back in a way that obviously is emotional, but inspirational as well. It reminds me of that time being 17, but also exactly what we're talking about. Like our unit and our family, like are there in those moments. And the fact that she had people around her to laugh when she was being like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just think it really, it's a gorgeous, it's weird to think about, but I have some really favorite family memories about when both Ned and Jean were passing, just because of like the community level it felt at my age at that time. It just felt like something that not everyone gets, which is true.
I mean, it made me think of that woman I was talking about that Jerry mentioned. And
Yes.
I said to Jerry, does she have any family? And Jerry said, no, she's estranged from her one daughter and she doesn't have any other relatives around. So it also made me feel how lucky we are. And I know I
Yeah.
say that a lot and I'm going to continue to say it. But it makes you feel for the people who are not so. And the fact that we don't have, things in place to help those people,
Yeah.
especially as they age.
Yeah. What did it feel like to write the blog? Like, was it something that felt therapeutic? Did you feel like you needed to document it? Did you have a vision for this podcast back then?
Never had a vision of the podcast. Thank you very much. It was very therapeutic. I think that is something I've always done to deal with
Yeah.
things. And I did post it, online at the time and got some really good feedback and got a lot of
Hmm.
people who could relate. So that felt good. It was like another circle of support extended beyond the people we are close to, so it had, other benefits other than being therapeutic for me. My siblings really liked, that I was sharing my experience, which so much was theirs as well. And so, yeah, I feel good about it. And obviously, I haven't revisited it in these years much at all. And so, this podcast is giving us the opportunity to do so. And it's a great chance to relive it and learn from it and reflect on it and,
Mm.
help it take us into when I'm in that position.
The transition now. I also think the excerpt specifically that you're talking about as well, it's related to the theme that we're talking about around loneliness. And she did pass because of cancer. Everyone felt that she was not the same when her husband and your dad Ned left the world. So I think as well it's interesting to think about there are cases that are pure heartbreak, like people passing of heartbreak. And I know that wasn't the case for Jean because she had, so much to live for and stuff, but that is still a part of it, right? I find it so interesting, like what mentally, this is obviously me just saying things, but like what mentally, where was she mentally? And then did that affect the cancer that was already in her body? Like we'll never know that, but it's an interesting conversation to be had.
Well, I won't have that problem, I guess. I'm not going to die of losing my partner.
Oh my God, Mom.
That's
Well, you never know.
one advantage of being single and lonely.
Oh my
Not gonna
God.
die of a broken heart, that's for damn sure.
Oh my God. That's also not true. You don't know yet. You might get a partner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but the Wednesday or Saturday guy is not going to be that close to my heart.
That's true. That's true. I love that for you. I love that for you. Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out. We got to scope it out here in the East Coast, I think.
Okay. All right. So it's about the time for me to ask Julia a question, and I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but do you have any interesting dating stories? Speaking of dating?
I do. I have a million, but I'll give you I'll give you one. Um, so there was a guy, we'll name him John Smith. Let's name him John Smith.
That doesn't
Uh,
sound fake at all.
no, John Doe. Maybe let's call him John Doe. Um, I met him organically at a bar. He came up to me at a bar in New York when I was 22, like right when I moved here, and got his number. Went on a couple of dates. Nothing really ever went anywhere, but was great and stayed in contact on social media. Years later, if I had to guess, 4 years later, he reached out randomly and was like, "Hey, I'm in the city again. Like, I live here now again." I can't remember exactly the guise of it, but he said, "Where are you living now?" And we ended up going on another date years later. We both, were obviously single at the time. Went on a date, spent a couple of hours with him in my area at the time. It was Greenpoint, where I lived in Brooklyn, and ended up going back home with him. We ended up starting to watch a movie in my living room on the couch. Things got a little bit heated. We did start kissing in an intimate way. And all of a sudden, in the middle of us kissing, he says, "Also, just so you know, I have a girlfriend."
Come on!
I was
What
like,
a jerk!
in the middle of us making out on the couch, he says this. So I call Megan and Alyssa, shout out, because I knew they were out around where we lived. And they did the whole, "I'm going to call you an emergency" sort of thing. He kind of wasn't getting the hint. And so I just said, "I'm kicking you out, and my friends are making up an excuse because you just told me you have a girlfriend, and I would never do that to another woman. Leave my house and never talk to me ever again."
Yay, Julia. Give me a break.
We spent all night together. Like, we were at a brewery for like 3 hours together. We were catching up about life and his business and everything, and never once brought up that he had a partner and like was in a committed relationship. And it was and then I, met up. I kicked him out, obviously, and then I met up with Megan and Alyssa, and we had a great night afterwards. I was like, isn't that crazy?
Yes, what a jerk. What a jerk. Thank you for sharing that story. I never heard it.
Yeah, that's a story. I wouldn't have probably never called you up to tell you that story the next day, but that did happen. When we lived in Greenpoint, it was right before the pandemic as well. Yeah,
Well, maybe I'll have some stories for you. Who knows?
you'll have to let us know. You'll have to let the listeners know as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Julia. This was great as always.
Love you so much.
I love you.
Bye.
Till next time, everyone. Bye.